Good afternoon. We had a very interesting session with a lot of very interesting presentations, leading to many discussions already around the presentations. So I'm a little bit envious of the zoonotic team that addressed two of the discussion questions. We only did one. But we had a range of presentations by veterinarians on medicinal plants, on nature in cities, in developed countries, wide-ranging. But the discussion focused, at first instance, oops, this is not the right presentation, I think. No. These were the original discussion questions. We can go and do that too, but it was not.
Okay. So, Hans.
I think it's a little bit up higher.
Yeah, the button.
Yeah. Okay, the first one was one of the things we did not discuss, because the discussion was mainly about what I want to say. Again.
This is the one I had from you.
Okay. I don't know if Julia's here. And you have your laptop. We don't have to hook it up. We can just ignore the PowerPoint. Improvise. Okay, the discussion was about valuation that came up. First starting with valuation of health benefits and to what extent that was possible. And after that, more broadly about the valuation. Do you have your laptop with the valuation of nature in economic terms? And there was a lot of discussion about it. That's practically all we talked about. Is it a good thing? Well, we had some people from the policy side say, yeah, economic valuation, you cannot get around it. It's important within politics. But others said it's also dangerous because usually you cannot economically evaluate everything. And what you do not evaluate tends to be ignored. From the psychological side, there was even discussion that if you start to evaluate economically the intrinsic value of nature, it might undermine the intrinsic value of nature. Do you have the power?
No, I don't have it. It was on this computer.
I thought
Problem with language.
It was on your stick.
On
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to do it by heart.
Yes, I think let's try to do it.
Let's do it by heart. Do you have something to add up till now?
No, carry on.
Okay. And the second part of what we wanted to report back was about the way to go forward. One thing was about small scale grassroots initiatives being very successful because they took place outside the system, and the system itself was seen as one of the very difficult things to change. And from the small-scale grassroots movements that are not always easy to scale up, it was thought that maybe the city level is a better level than the national level to start kind of experiments, because then you might still be able to change the system somewhat to create living labs of cities. But we also went to the national level, and there we had a very nice example of Ecuador, having the rights of nature incorporated in the constitution. It's also another country where that took place, New Zealand. But in Ecuador, there was also a case that the river sued the state, and the river won. Obviously, there were people behind it, okay, but that might be one way to go forward on a national level.
Yeah, I think the main issue was really, how can we value nature really and the health benefits? And I think there was a lot of debate probably because a lot of us were coming from with some conservation background and background in ecosystem services. And I think there were key questions addressed, which was, do we really need to put a value on something that is so vital? And Richard said, things such as air, energy, water, how can we put a value on such things? And Simon also raised the question of,
Can
a
you
big
just
step.
take them out of the capital system
Yes.
and distribute them
Yes,
fairly?
and a
But to
big.
be honest, I think Richard said that he wasn't sure that nature was included in that list of
It's very complicated, I think.
ah.
Biodiversity to try and regulate for that. But for simple things, the good old Chinese elements, fire, water, air, and soil. You see, it's those things that give rise. And they're not biodiversity.
Mhm.
They're a sort of product.
Mhm.
And if they were not constrained within the economic system as we currently stand, as more of a rights issue, then actually that's a good way to get equity to those basic rights across the world.
Mhm.
Yes, and one of the other things that was mentioned that I found intriguing was the idea that, okay, we only start valuing things when they become scarce. As long as they're not scarce, we don't value them. And when you look at nature, well, if you start valuing them when they become scarce, it may be a little bit on the late side. You cannot return to a previous condition. So
Mhm.
that was my...
Yeah, sorry for that presentation that failed to appear somewhere.
Education.
Yeah, education was key.
Oh, yeah.
Point, came
Yeah,
up. I'm not sure she's still-
That's true, it was in the summary,
education.
Because I think that's been missed.
Yeah.
the value.
Okay, in our group, because I'm from education science, I think I'm the only one.
Can you pass the microphone?
I'm
Yes.
from
Or maybe she.
education science, and I really think I'm the one look at one house from outsider's view. So my first question I ask myself is, do we really need to put a number on nature in order to prove to others it's important? So that's the fundamental question I first come to my mind, I ask. Second question, value changes. If you look at history, humanity in the past was not valued as it is now. Nature now is not that valued compared to economy, but it may change. And how to make it change is us, is we. And how to do it? Because we educate people, we provoke the idea, we change the value. We should do that. We should make the history, and before it is too late. So that's the main point. Thank you.